Hello guys, today I want to quickly show you another new feature in Laravel framework released in 9.18, which is invokable validation classes. So there's a new optional syntax that can make your custom validation classes shorter. So for example, you have a registration form based on Laravel Breeze in my case, and you have validation rules. And one of those rules, for example, for email, you want to restrict the domains. And you create a custom validation rule for that with PHP artisan make rule email domains rule, for example, and inside typically you do what? You do passes true or false. So if some condition is wrong, then you return false, otherwise you return true, and then if something goes wrong here, you provide the message in a separate function of message. So this is a typical custom validation rule. With invokable validation rules, it allows to avoid the message altogether and instead call $fail inside. Let me show you. So we do PHP artisan make rule, let's call it email domains invokable rule, and then you do -- invokable. It generates the rule like this. It implements invokable rule, so simple rule implements just rule, but now we have invokable rule with only one method, invoke. It's similar to invokable controllers, like controllers with one method. And in here you have attribute value and fail. And if we copy the same condition from a simple rule, for example, like this, you don't need to return true or false here. Return is void, which means if that function doesn't return anything, doesn't fail, then the validation rule passes. So instead of returning false here, you do a different syntax, $fail, and inside error message. That's it. So you don't need to have a separate message method. You just copy like this, and that's it. That's your validation rule. So let's change that in the registered users controller. So email domains, invokable rule, like this. And then in our registration form, if I use fake filler Chrome extension, but change the domain to example.com, which is forbidden, for example, you register, and that validation message is here. And not only that, invokable rules helps with multi-language translatable validation messages. So for example, in a typical rule, you would return not this, but for example, translation of validation and then some key, for example, email domain, like this. Right? And then in your validation, in lang en validation, or before Laravel 9 it would be resources lang en validation, you would have email domain key with the error message. So that would be in a typical rule. In invokable rule, all you need to do is, instead of error message in here, provide the key like this and call translate like this. So you don't need to call trans helper for translations. And let's, for example, change the validation so you would believe that it's actually coming from the validation file. For example, warning. And let's refresh the same fake filler with example.com domain, register, warning. So that error message comes from the translated file according to your active locale of your project, which is set, by the way, in config app PHP. So in our case, locale is en, which corresponds to this folder lang en. In your case, it could be your local language or multi-language. And that invokable classes were released in 9.18 by the same new superstar of Laravel team, Tim MacDonald, who is already on fire with releasing a lot of new awesome features in Laravel 9, and I'm sure many more things to come. As well as many more things are coming into my courses, so you can support this YouTube channel by subscribing to one or more of my courses, currently 33 courses, or join me in yearly membership. I have at least 3 new courses planned over the summer if you're watching this video in July, as well as publishing a lot of free videos here on YouTube, so subscribe to any of those and see you guys in other videos.